Uh, is this an old slide?
It is an old slide, Guy. I was working off a old slide deck and forgot to change the front end. So
I think your two hosts have moved out of state.
yes, they definitely have. Well, not out of state. Tim is just out of city. So anyway, we're really glad that you could join us tonight. Please, as long as we're small like this, don't worry so much about your muting and video unless things get noisy on your end. We're mostly just the leadership team tonight, so we'll see if we have other folks join us. I wanted to let you know that Dalal canceled just the last minute, so I pulled up a previous presentation.
Oh, I muted us.
So if we are all the same people by the end of the meeting, maybe we won't even do that presentation. We'll see. So anyway, I'm glad that you're all here, and I think we'll get started. So these are just a little bit of the housekeeping for tonight. We're really glad that you can attend, and remind you that if you can, just introduce yourselves in the chat, and reminder that the meeting is being recorded, and we'll be meeting until 7:30 unless we finish a little early tonight. So welcome, and I thought maybe we could start with a little bit of introductions, and let us know, since it's just a small group tonight, what might be going on with you.
Well, I'll lead it off because I was mowing the lawn. That's because I got a new electric lawnmower. So actually my old lawnmower was an electric lawnmower, and it lasted 23 years. So it did pretty good. So, but it used lead acid batteries. You can imagine that thing weighed a ton. So the batteries died over winter. So about 3 weeks ago, I got a nice Ryobi from Home Depot, and luckily I got it. I kept watching there's ad sales, and boom, they cut $100 off the price. I went for it, and it cuts a larger swath, and boy, it does. It cuts so much faster than the old guy. So even though I had to cut those weeds and grass down about a foot trying to get to it, it was another step in EV transition. So.
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah. I'm waiting for my gold star, but green star.
Anybody else?
Okay, Robert and I are here like the rest of you old faithful people. And I mean old in the sense of longtime DEVA attendees.
That's kind of you.
Anyway, we don't have an electric lawnmower because we had one and Robert killed it by forcing it to cut down 2-foot high weeds. But we make up for having a gas mower by almost never driving anywhere in a vehicle that isn't electric. We do still have Robert's ancient Avalon, which we want to get rid of, both because it's a gas car and because it's also pretty well known as a geezer car model. And we're looking for something new and exciting in a long range electric battery only vehicle. And we're just waiting for a few more options to come on the market so that we have a wide range of choices. So we're interested in anything that any of you might have to say about some of the longer range models that are out now or are expected to be out in the next year.
Great, Barbara. I think we'll take that question up as a part of either our hot topics or our sort of after the event questions or after the presentation questions. That would be great.
Marvelous.
Nathan?
Hey everybody, I'm Nathan. I grew up in Davis. I got my Tesla Model 3 last November, so pretty new to the EV car situation, but I've been a fan of EVs for a while. So, and I knew about DEVA. I hadn't joined, so I joined earlier this year.
And
Great. And Nathan didn't mention that he's volunteered to help out with our EV pop-up organizing. So,
hey, terrific. So I'm Guy Hall. I've been, and I appreciate Barbara clarifying what old members were. Thank you, Barbara. I'm one of those, I guess, and drove was the first person to drive an electric car from California up to Fairbanks, Alaska, back in 2014, and had an electric car since 2010, and would now currently have two Teslas and a Leaf, a Nissan Leaf. So we're enjoying it and working a lot of the sort of this partner organization with SAC EV.
thanks, Guy. And don't you have an event coming up that you might want to tell us?
Plural. So, and I thought I'd wait on those till hot topics.
Okay, great. Thank you. Katrina?
Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I'm Katrina. I have a Volt, the PHEV. So sorry, I still have gas. I don't own a lawnmower, so I don't have any of those things. I have a lot of weeds in the backyard though, so I'm gonna have to tackle them with just good old manpower and gloves. I work in the EV industry. I have so I've been around the block a couple of times, both in like professional electric vehicle like madness and then like personal hanging out with y'all and being a part of keeping things rolling slowly but surely. So if you guys want to talk about cars or electric buses, I can and will talk your ear off. Do not challenge me. I will do it. That's me. Hello.
And I'll just mention, we might put this in hot topics just to share with other people, but Katrina and Richard and Guy and Robert and Barbara all joined us for our donor and volunteer thank you event a couple of weeks ago, and we all took a ride on the new electric buses and went out to the to look at the charging infrastructure at the Unitrans terminal as a part of that event. So anyway.
And we went out those chargers on a rainy day too. So
Yeah.
Barbara and I have noticed those buses all over town.
Yeah, they're busy. So Tim.
Tim Paulson, relatively new owner, 2 months. And I have a Hyundai Ioniq 5, and I really like it. I wish I got more mileage out of it though, but I think there's a trade-off for the dual motors, so I only get it like 240 per fill up.
oh, so you've got the all-wheel drive?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very powerful, but I don't need that power. And if I realized I would have gotten the other one in order to get more distance out of it. I plan to drive it to Chicago in June.
Oh,
So I'm
fun.
busy trying to line up something every 160 miles as far as charging goes.
So Tim, you should check out the story. I think it was April, our April meeting last year with a couple that went across country in their Tesla Y. But lots of really good data and information about how they navigated going across country that you might find helpful.
So where would I find that story?
On our YouTube website,
Okay,
which is Live Cool Davis.
okay,
Hashtag Live Cool Davis. There's a whole DEVA playlist there.
Okay.
And so it's April 8th, maybe, or April
Okay.
10th.
When are you going cross country, Tim?
June, first weekend. My daughter's graduating from nursing school in Chicago, June 9th.
There's a
Cool.
coast to coast trip kicking off, I think, June 1st. With a woman, or two women will leave the Auto Museum on June 1st and go to drive electric car to the East Coast.
What are
So,
they driving, Guy?
Hertz is going to provide a car, an electric
Ooh.
car.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
That's nice. So
Yeah.
Jerry,
good gig.
you wanna share with
Yeah.
us?
Great.
Yeah, real quickly, I have to drop off soon because I'm going to another board meeting that I'm a officer in. It starts at 7 and I have to drive over there. It's about a 10-minute drive. Anyway, I'm president of the Silicon Valley chapter of the Electric Vehicle Association. And I like this group. So I usually, when I get an email about a meeting, I, request sign on app information. So they send me a link. So that's why I'm logging in. And I'm driving a 2002 RAV4 EV. I found one for $3,300 that had 46,000 original miles on it. It was driven by a guy that had a 5-mile commute through city streets each way. So I
Nice.
picked it up and that's what I'm driving now. Previously, I had another 2002 RAV4 EV and I drove it until it had 242,000 miles on it. And then I sold it to a guy who wants to put lithium batteries in it. Anyway, we're having
Nice.
3 events here in April. We're having a Arbor Day event with the city of Santa Clara. We're having a Cupertino Earth Day, and then PG&E, believe it or not, is having a car show for custom EVs and conversion EVs, and they're allowing some custom gas cars as well. And so this is the first time they've ever done that. So we're going to be at that show as well.
That sounds awesome.
And-
You should.
And Jerry hasn't mentioned that he's been one of the long-term EV advocates for several decades, I think. Is that right, Jerry?
Well, yeah, and there's about a 10-second cameo of me in the movie Who Killed the Electric Car, where I'm giving hell to the Air Resources Board.
Well, we're glad you can join us, even if it's just till 7, or before.
Yeah, probably 6:45.
Rich?
There we go. Had to unmute myself. Hi, kids. I'm Rich in name only, and I'm still driving my 2013 RAV4 EV, and I have a 2002 RAV4 EV. She's sleeping now. She's in storage, and I'm always looking for someone to give me a tip. I'm actually waiting for Eugen to tell me, Rich, this person can change it out and drop a couple thousand to change it over to lithium ion. But that's a mañana project.
Can I chime in on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a guy in Salinas who has a business called Trajectory EV, and the information about that has been posted on the RAV4 EV list that is out of Davis. I believe a guy named Daryl has that list. And so the guy will do what you want.
We know Daryl.
Yeah, the guy will do what you want, but he wants 18,000, not 2,000. But he's put together some lithium batteries that come from China. And he straps them together such that the posts that come up are in the exact position as the original nickel metal hydride battery, so you can use the existing harness.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he'll do it all for you. We got one guy that lives in Saratoga that's having it done now. He's kind of like the guinea pig. So anyway, there is somebody that'll do it, but it's not cheap, but it's probably cheaper than buying a new EV, and your range will go up from about maybe 80 or 90 miles to about 150 or 160 miles.
That's awesome. When Got Juice, the name of my car, when Got Juice was new, I got my peak. I got 121 miles on a full charge.
You must have been going 45 miles an hour on a country road.
I was. It was one of those Costco and back in West Sacramento running my errands, and you know, it was not during the winter time. So I got how much did I got 149,000 miles on it.
Well, tell you what, I'll drop the guy's email address in the chat.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great.
Wait, I have a question.
That's-
Sorry. So so these lithium ion batteries, would they still use the paddle charger, or are you swapping to J1772 as well?
The $18,000 includes different chargers. They come in 3 kilowatt increments. So you can get a single 3 kilowatt, you can get 2 of them, or you can get 3 of them, which will bring you up to 9 kilowatts, which is more than the original, I think, 7 kilowatts that came with the paddle charger. So all that's included along with a J plug.
Okay, so it is the J. Okay, cool. That's so interesting. I mean, I grew up with those. I was not driving in 2002, but my dad had them. So it's very fun to see that they're still alive and well.
Okay.
So let's see who's left here. Eugen.
Well, I had a 2001 or 2 RAV4 EV also for many years. I thought Toyota made a great electric car. I never understood why they quit it and moved to fuel cells. I didn't do a conversion, but I stopped at Ash's place in Dixon, and he has a newer RAV4, the one with the Tesla, in his garage and helping out a person there. So you might want to talk to Ash, Rich, if he has any ideas.
Great. Thank you.
I mean, he's doing now the low rider conversion, so they're putting in new batteries and everything. And his big thing is that the batteries and all the chargers and everything that belongs to EV are really auto quality and not just some battery you get from somewhere. So we'll see how the lowrider conversion goes, and you can have a look at that. Hopefully they'll be done by June, and go from there. And Cool Davis is supposed to do a tour anyway.
That's right. We are going to have a, it's up to Ash to let us know when it's good for us to schedule that tour again. So, and he sends his apologies to everybody. He was supposed to be presenting tonight and will not be able to present, but will join us again, hopefully in June.
I have one more comment, and I could also say it later, but next week at the Cosumnes River College, they have their Earth Day and their little electric car races, solar car races. I'm going to go out there. If anybody wants to join or bring their EV on next Wednesday, that would be terrific. And Davis is in the same area as the Cosumnes College River District for their board members.
Sure. Thanks, Eugen. So I think I will advance the slides here. And I'm just going to remind everybody about our upcoming Picnic Day Parade this Saturday. We have just a few people and no newer cars in the DEVA group. So if any of you, like, I don't know, Tim would like to drive their car in the Picnic Day Parade, you would add to the variety of cars that we are presenting. So, and I can tell.
Would you like
give
me to do that?
more-
That would be awesome. But it's an early start. We have to be there with our vehicles at 7:30 in the morning, and I need to get some information from you offline to send to the parade coordinators, so they'll let you in the gate. But we hang around for a while until they start the parade, and then it goes really fast, and we're done by 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
Do I need to have a pretty lady waving out the window or anything like
well,
that?
that always helps. But we'll put all kinds of, we have signs that we're preparing ahead of time that we will, tape with painter's tape to your car.
Okay.
And but all the other vehicles are older vehicles. And so one of the things we're going to do this time is feature some stuff around buying used. And the new like PG&E rebate program. I'm trying to create a QR code that they can read right off the side of a car that says, here's a rebate for buying used vehicles. So that's kind of what we're emphasizing in the parade.
Is
But
that
yours
the,
isn't.
Chris, would you be able to send like a paragraph blurb I can put in the SAC EV newsletter? I'll probably try to get one out tonight.
So I have to turn in all the forms tomorrow, guys. So I'm probably done with doing any additional promotion at this point.
Okay.
I mean, you did send it out for me already, and I think there's lots of things that are hitting people's emails. And so if you can think of anybody specific that you think might be willing to do it, that'd be great to forward it directly to them.
It'd be
But
marvelous if we get an electric pickup in there.
yeah, but none of those folks responded. So, and I did some really specific emails out to people, and Nathan sent an e-blast to our list of people who had kind of volunteered generally to do these kinds of events. And so that's where we
Okay,
are. Anything that I have before noon tomorrow would be great.
All right.
So then the other great thing that's happened is our board president for Cool Davis nominated DEVA to receive the Davis Environmental Awards. And so you were nominated and you have been approved by the city council to receive an award as a local community organization / nonprofit group for your service to the Davis community since 2017, since your formation. So that is happening at the city council meeting on April 18th. And a number of you in the leadership group have said that you would plan on attending. So that's great. I'll send you the information. But we'd like anybody that's been coming out and volunteering with DEVA since, all those first events to attend. So we will send a note out to the full DEVA list and invite everybody to come join. And there's usually a picture with the city council that's done at that event with everybody on the dais with the council. So 6:30 next Tuesday night, April 18th.
At City Hall.
At City Hall. So we'll be sending, just look for the announcement on the DEVA list, and Robert and Barbara, I'll need your help getting that out like tomorrow or Friday as a notice. That would be great. So hot topics.
All right, I'll jump in because thanks, Barbara, for setting me up. I already had planned something for hot topics, and it was based on the new 2024 Hyundai Kona. So the Kona's been restyled, updated, and it took basically all the technology from the Ioniq 5 and they packed it into the Kona now. Car's not going to come out to the fall, but I watched a couple of reviews, a couple online YouTube reviews, and so the good part of it is probably starting out at about 36,000. So it's on the lower end, and which makes it affordable. But it's got 150 kilowatt charger on it. It still has its the the same 65 kilowatt battery. I think it's 64 and a half, but so it gets about almost 260 miles. So it's you know, I think it really in terms of the affordable EVs, you know, I always look at the Bolt right now because it is so affordable. It's down to 27 and 33, I think, for the Bolt and the Bolt EUV. But with the Kona getting all these updates, I mean, it's basically a mini Ioniq 5 for about $18,000 less. And you know, I don't know how this one's going to do, but I test drove one of the old actually about 2 summers ago, the Konas. So they've got, you know, that 0 to 60 in, you know, sub 7 seconds range. So it's a fun car to drive. So I
What
look
did you say
forward
the
for.
price was, Richard?
What's that?
What did you say the price was?
I think it's starting out at 36.
36.
Yeah. So there's not an official price, but kind of a sub-official was they think it's going to start out about at that for they're going to have 3 models with more stuff on each one. Of course, the top one gets, you know, the sunroof, that kind of stuff, but they all get the same, you know. Oh, in the back seat, they put about, it's the wheelbase is like 6 inches longer, a little bit more than a half foot longer. And it's going to the back seat, which was one of the knocks on the Kona right now, is the back seat was pretty crammed. So that extra back seat really helps.
Do you know if it's going to have the 800-volt battery?
No, it's going to have a 150 volt charger.
No, I'm not talking about kilowatts. I'm talking about the voltage. You know, the fast charging ones, they have like an 800-volt battery, like the Porsche Taycan.
Right.
You know, and most of them have like a 400-volt battery, like a Nissan Leaf.
You know, I don't know what it has.
Well, it allows you to charge the thing faster without heating up the batteries.
Yeah. No, that'd be, hopefully it's taken, you know, the technology off the Ioniq 5. And,
Well, that's what they have on the Ioniq 5. It's an 800-volt battery.
Yeah, so hopefully they brought that along. But it has the, you know, the 2 screens in the front, which are the, you know, the driver's information and then the side information. They're both 12-inch LCD panels. So yeah, and they look like they took that right from the Ioniq 5 too. So
I assume no IRA incentives.
that's the one downside. They don't qualify for the IRA incentives. Yeah, the 7,500. So
By the way, the Leaf still will qualify for that.
oh really?
So you'll be able to get it down toward $20,000.
Yeah. Like, is that because they have a factory somewhere in the east
Yeah.
someplace? Yeah, that's nice. So another one to add to Barbara and Robert's list here.
Cool.
Guy, I don't know if you want to talk about what Tesla's doing in terms of their sales are taking off, right?
Yeah, they're working. I don't want to just repeat what people have already read, but they're setting plans in to try to drive toward a $25,000 car over the next year and a half. And so that's what you have to do to get these things more affordable. And that's probably be manufactured in Mexico and be will probably be able to be qualified for the IRA, the $7,500 incentive, and the state incentives like $2,000 in California.
It's nice. And the Model 3 dropped down, what, a tremendous amount in price too.
Yeah, the Model 3, I sent out a message back a few days ago about if over the next, let's see, over the next until the 18th, the Model 3 will be what was it, 34,000 minus? Oh, let's see. Well, I think 34,000 was after the IRA incentives.
I think you're right.
And a few $1,000s more. I don't have the thing in front of me. How many? If you are not getting the SAC EV messages, I encourage you to put it in the chat, a link to go ahead and register to get those updates. You know, just put in your email there, and we'll send you updates on what's going on regionally as well.
So Guy, do you know if there's a good reference website at this point for where people can go to see the IRA eligible cars and any of this kind of pricing
Two things.
news? Is that
Yeah, there are some on the Plug in America has a fairly good site. We're going to create a one-page double-sided handout for the events. That's still in development. Part of it is we're waiting for the 18th to come around. That's the date that the IRS will finalize some of their rules, and manufacturers will probably announce which models and makes and models are qualified for that.
okay? So we
incentive.
should look for that, you know, for like moving forward in May to have some better materials and content to be able
absolutely.
to share with people. Okay,
And we'll
great.
try to do handouts at these events.
Fabulous. So any other hot topics, any new news or any key question that's been occurring to you, either related to your own car or a car you're curious about? I noticed that Kevin was able to join us while we've been talking. And so I don't know, Kevin, we have a small group. So if you'd like to turn on your video and unmute, you can introduce yourself if you'd like.
Unmute. Start video. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
We're good.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Hey, yeah, I'm just listening to the information that you're supplying. I don't know if I'm on video now or not.
You are.
You are.
Am I? Oh, okay.
You're floating in and out.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, I just wanted to share what I had read this week just regarding Tesla. Is I think you're eligible for half of the federal incentive. Beginning in a month or so, because some of the batteries are sourced in China, I guess, for the Model 3, but it only applies to the Model 3. But yeah, those rules are ever changing and really complex because of the IRA. So I'm looking forward to the handout that you folks present that'll give us some ideas to pricing. The other thing too I wanted to share is the Ioniq 5 is the car that I'm especially interested in purchasing. And until recently, the pricing on that has been MSRP plus the minimum I saw was $2,000, but most of them are plus 5,000, sometimes plus 10,000 if you're looking in the Bay Area. But recently I've gotten an email from a local dealership in Folsom, and they're indicating that they're discounting those cars a little bit now. And so it sounds like you can possibly buy that car for MSRP less 1,000, maybe more. And it's probably based on what's happening with the economy and, you know, some uncertainty regarding whether there's going to be a recession. So now's probably a good time to look for one of these EV cars as I'm doing.
Thanks, Kevin.
So
Yeah.
I just put in the chat the latest information I have on that entry level Tesla Model 3.
Oh, great.
So I'll maybe put up some information about the events coming up. I can.
Sure. Yeah, you go ahead and I'll stop sharing if you want to screen share.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll get. And what I'm going to show you is the latest email that I'm getting ready to send out tonight. So if you get signed up, you'll get this email as well and all the other follow-ons. There are going to be plenty this month because there's so much going on. We've got in April, Sunday, a week from this Sunday is the biggest regional EV. We'll have we're debating whether it's 23 or 30 EVs at the showcase. There's an issue of how many cars are allowed to put on the lawn. So we're working out that. We'll also have two of the two children's books there and the authors of those two. One of whom I was talking with this afternoon, and that's about writing the magic, you know, of the I don't remember the name of it, but it's about it was inspired by this girl in the UK who had severe asthma problems and had finally succumbed to that as a, you know, a 10-year-old or something. And they actually ended up putting on the death certificate that it was due to car pollution. They lived right next to a heavy corridor. And so that inspired him to write this book. And one of the parts of the book also is further inspired by Tim Shannon, who is the one of the I guess transportation manager at what school district is that? I think you know that, Eugen. One of the school districts that have gotten the Twin Rivers.
Twin Rivers, yeah.
And he was out going along and talking with him about the different new electric school buses they were getting. And as they were doing that, a gentleman was walking through with a face covering on it because the diesel coming out of the old diesel buses was so bad. He always had to go out there and work with a cloth mask. So we'll get that out to you. But both of them will be there to sign their books for kids. And we'll be giving away 10 each of those. Anyway, that's a week from this coming Sunday. And we'll have, by the way, we'll have a focus there there'll be two areas of focus, one on used EVs. And we're bringing in a used car dealership that only sells EVs.
Wow, Guy, where are they located?
They're actually in Stockton, and they've come up a number of times as guests of SMUD.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out the president of that, the owner of that used car dealership is also the president of the California used car dealerships. So very knowledgeable, a really great guy. Anyway, he'll be coming up and they'll bring a couple of cars actually you'll be able to test drive, but that'll be part of their focus. They'll bring some of the experience of buying used EVs. And of course, all the EVs that are coming to this event are only with their owners, and we're not bringing dealerships out. So these are inherently all used EVs, but we'll be able to talk and have David Link will be focusing on information about the used EV market there as well. The second area of focus at this event will be the electric pickups. We'll have both a Tesla and a Rivian pickup there, and may even have a couple of each, but with their owners. And the Rivian I've talked to several Rivian owners recently, and it's been a mixed bag on their satisfaction. They've had some early manufacturing startup issues that weren't uncommon to Tesla at the beginning as well. Fit and finish kind of things, things that didn't quite come off as planned. But anyway, they'll be there to talk about it, and they're generally very excited about the electric pickups as well. Including one of them is Phil Hopt, which some of you may know as being the owner of Phil Hopt Electric, which is a electrical contractor that has probably done more than any other contractor I know about, and more EVSE installations from homes all the way up to superchargers. So, but he'll be there with their work vehicle, two of their work vehicles. Then the others, as I mentioned, as Eugen was saying, Consume This River is SMUD is going to consume this river to do their solar car races, and this is high school students that are taking model cars and putting little electric motors and solar on them, and they're racing each other. And so that's a really fun event to join in and listen, watch. And also the students and their parents and the faculty have always had a high interest in electric cars. So they would also be interested in as whatever AV owners are able to show and share their experience. Then we've got Sac State is doing an event on next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. We have coming up in Grass Valley, and this is the day before our big Sunday event. But this is a significant event up at the Sierra Pines United Methodist Church. And that's one of the 2 events in the region that are actually registered as part of the Drive Electric Earth Day events. There are about 200 of those across the country during Drive Electric Earth Day. 200 events that are registered. So both the Grass Valley one and the one that we do with Ecos in Southside Park. Then it's beyond April, but it's always a really fun event. And that's up in also in Grass Valley, is they have something called Grills and Grills. So it's a big barbecue competition with all the local restaurants bringing some of their best barbecue wares and tastings and samplings. And then they're combined with old cars with their front grills. So Grills and Grills is the name of the event. And they have asked us to participate with bringing some of the new generation. I think some of the folks on the call may have been we've been there prior years. It's always been a lot of fun. Big grass park and out there relaxed, and generally a beautiful day. And this event, the Air District, normally they charge like $35 to participate. And the Air District up there is go ahead and cover our entry costs. So we'll have up to 7 EVers that can come out with their car free. They'll have the tickets. Thank you to the Air District, and be able to participate in that. So that's a quick run through those events. Any, for those that are still awake, any questions? All right. Yeah. Did you
Okay.
start to say something? Oh, I see, Rich. I see a hand up.
My hand up was for something else, but with regard to the Grass Valley, where might there be some EVSE up in Grass Valley or Colfax? I know that there's some charging infrastructure near the train station in Colfax, but I'm unaware of any up in Grass Valley. I've not looked, but
Are you thinking of fast chargers or superchargers?
Fast chargers.
Fast chargers. Yeah, there are a bunch of more additions to the ones at the train station. We always reference, just go to PlugStar.
Pleasure.
That always seems to have the latest information. But you got to check it out like every month or two because they're going in quickly, across the state and across the country. So keep looking at it. I haven't looked at it lately, but I did drive by a whole bunch of new fast chargers that were at the train station.
Yeah, I saw it from the train.
That same here. That was it. We didn't drive by. We saw it from the train.
Yeah, I saw the ones in Colfax from the train.
Yeah,
They're EV. I think they're EVgo fast chargers.
Yeah, I think so. So we saw when we were taking the Reno Sacramento train down. We looked down and saw that at that train station down there.
Yep.
It's a nice place to hang out while you're charging too.
Cool.
And so send again, go to sacev.org, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get these messages out on what events are going on, and not just to show your car. I mean, that's always cool to kind of educate the communities and there's so much disinformation out there that where you have a chance to set the record straight with your own experience is so valuable. But even beyond that, these events are just fun to go to. I mean, with family and kids and just seeing all the different things going on. They're always a lot of fun. So check these events out and the others as we keep doing them through the year.
Thanks, Guy. I just wanted to give a heads up to everybody about an upcoming event in May, and that is the Celebrate Davis event. We're invited to have a booth there, and I've been talking with the Chamber of Commerce about the idea we had for 2020 before everything got shut down, which is that we would have some EVs and some fun EVs at that event in the same space where the fire trucks are and like the cool vehicles that the kids get to crawl all over. So if you're game for that, I will go ahead and try and get that scheduled in the next week. It's a Thursday, late afternoon and evening in May. So second Thursday of May, I believe. Or
Okay,
third.
yeah, if you write something up, I'll try to get it out to our membership as well, Chris. And you reminded me about the kids and that we have for the big EV showcase, we have one of those small Tesla cars that kids can sort of ride around in and get take the picture taken. And we have
It'll be on
another.
the grass, so that may be a little bit
Yeah.
complicated for that. And what I think I'm looking for is an F-150 and maybe a Rivian and maybe even the EV van that we had for our event in September, and then maybe one other kind of cool car. I'm not sure how much space they're going to give us at this point, but some things that really kind of they're going to have a Unitrans bus, I think, and I've been saying, hey Jeff, make sure that's electric. And so we can like keep this theme going of look at all this cool stuff that's here. It's now it's available in our community. So
You want that little kid's car?
absolutely, we love that little kid's car.
All right. And we'll also, by the way, have a Nissan Leaf that kids can come up and draw on.
Okay, so like I said, I just have to figure out how many cars they're going to let us put on the grass in this space. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for us. Any other hot topics or items? And if not, we'll go on to
I had my question.
oh,
So-
your additional question. Yes, Rich.
Yeah. Well, my original question. So I just wanted to, I'm a real strong advocate for collecting data using PlugShare, and I go down to the Bay Area frequently enough, and I always stop in Vallejo for charging. And a fellow or a man or woman reached out to me, said, "Hey, I'm just buying a new Mach-E Mustang," and he says, I've been reading your commentary about the lack of maintenance or the hit or miss with regard to EVSC being working. He says, is anyone tracking this? And I thought about it, and I did a little search, and then I came up with an article that I saw and I posted it in the chat. And in that article, it's talks about how, at least in the Bay Area, EVSC is not being maintained sufficiently. And I thought, well, we have our own troubles here. The target EVSC have been shut off for months, and that it lends itself to, property owners who are getting the tax credit, but no one nudges them to keep the EVSC maintained. And I just thought that some future discussion, we ought to talk about how we can really figure out a better way to keep our infrastructure healthy. It has a lot of, and if there's some magic potion out there that I'm just missing, gosh, let me know. But
Richard, I got a
We can hardly hear you, Richard.
I got a possible answer.
Oh.
for you.
Richard, yeah, fix your
the other Richard. Yeah, I'm Rich.
yeah, Richard,
Yeah.
can you
Fix my mic.
yeah, fix your
Mike.
mic.
Put it down close to my mouth. It works better that way.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I was just going to comment. I think I read something about a month ago that as part of the IRA, the Biden administration's asked the U.S. Department of Transportation now to put together guidelines for EVSE owners and networks and for networks. So, and part of that is that they have to constantly monitor whether those stations are actually working. And they're going to set basically, a level that if you have a station go out, it has to be fixed within a day. It might be less than that. So I'll have to dig those up and see where I saw that. It was about a month ago, but I think this is part of their plan to get so many more 50,000 new charging stations open in the next, I forget what their deadline is, but I think what you're saying is a common problem, and they see that as if we're going to get electric cars to be accepted and people to do it, they need to have these stations working. So good point.
So Richard, was that are they in rulemaking around that, or is this in
They're in rulemaking. Yeah.
Okay, so they're looking for comments and support for that, or Guy, you have a,
That's part of the, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act.
Okay.
They're putting the charging stations across the country. And I haven't gone through a second level review on that, but I know the first one, there are financial penalties to the owners or the people that put those in if they don't meet certain reliability numbers, that there's a clawback on the money that they were paid to put them in. I don't know the details, so take a little bit of what I'm saying with a grain of salt, although I know they've actively put out requirements on it. I just don't know what the requirements are, but it is, if you say the price of EVs is the number one issue, the number two, very, very close across the country, is the reliability of the non-Tesla fast charging. It's just, and the scary thing about that I find is it seems to be across almost all the vendors.
mhm.
I mean, you can understand one or two vendors having the problems and getting, but I haven't heard of a good vendor. Maybe Katrina, have you heard of any of the vendors? Are they are they
So
getting a good
there's a lot of
reputation?
interesting new rules about to receive, I know state funding for sure. I'm not sure about federal, but I know there's a lot of interesting like uptime requirements that the state is requiring, because they are starting to acknowledge that this is an issue. And also, I mean, like we've all had electric vehicles since, 2010. So, the infrastructure is starting to get aging. And so they are trying to figure that out. So not only does like the state super need to expand their charging infrastructure, but they also need to like make sure it's reliable, whether that be in the form of, sort of this punishment system of giving the money back, or if that, has something to do with like, making sure that their equipment is, UL certified or some other sort of, standard to maintain it moving forward. The other issue is though that, people like to be malicious to it and literally, rip the copper out of it. And I mean, there's not much you can do about that. That's not like, you can put up cameras and stuff, but you're not gonna be able to stop a guy with some bolt cutters. In theory, I guess I wouldn't stop a guy with some bolt cutters or whatever it takes to cut it. So yeah, they do know it's a big issue, and they are, trying to figure out how to keep the stations up, because I mean, it's scary, right? If you're going to Tim's going to Chicago, like you're going to get stuck. And that's such a bummer for not only the driver, but, for the vehicle. I'm sad for the Ioniq out of power, but also just, it just really leaves a bad taste in your mouth about the technology and the infrastructure and just like the country's ability to adopt electric vehicles, which is a long-winded answer to say like, yes, reliability is an issue and we are working on it.
Yeah.
Tesla's
We also
starting-
had something for L2s, a little email repair.SAC-EV. If an L2 charger is down and you send it in to us, we'll have a look who owns it and try to get it running again.
Great.
And we should point out
Oi.
Eugen is our infrastructure manager for SAC-EV.
So Eugen, can you describe just briefly what your process is? And whether or not you'd like to have some more people on your team helping with that?
At the moment, I don't get a lot of feedback. I always tell people, report the things. So where I live in the townhouse complex in West Davis, we have 26 chargers. And if chargers are out, they don't even tell me. You can't go to your neighbor and say, hey, or send me an email or call me. It's also the fault of EV drivers. They come around and say, oh, the charger doesn't work. And then, don't take any action. If nobody complains, the chargers will continue to malfunction because, as Katrina said, the stuff is getting old.
But when you go, are you just simply calling the manufacturer or calling the contact person that you can see on the device and letting them know that it's down, or what additional things are you doing?
Well, basically, if it comes in, I mostly call Clipper Creek and ask them who was the purchaser of the device. And then I go to them and say, hey, your unit is down. It has only happened really in our area in Woodland at the, the hamburger place over there that has
The city lot, yeah.
the 209s, since 209, the chargers there.
Mhm.
I mean, all the other ones, if they're networked, they should know right away. The thing is, we have over at Costco ones from, what is it, Coulomb? It's not Coulomb anymore. It's, what's the other charging company?
By America, EV Go,
No,
Charge
it's
Point.
Charge
Charge
point,
Point, you know, their chargers down. I've called it in. They're doing nothing.
ChargePoint, though, most of their charge points they don't actually own. They just sell the equipment, and it's the property manager who does it.
Yeah.
So that makes it difficult.
yeah. And I've called in charge point, you know, when I see an out of service EVSE, I call charge point, tell the person, I log it, and I said, look, this unit, could you please notify the owner of the property or and they said, well, okay, Target, and this is in Vallejo, where all the level 2 chargers, the Target just shut off the power to them. And, you know, the superchargers with Tesla, they of course work, but it's like, you know, who decided that? Who, you know, it's all I can do is just keep complaining to the Target property manager.
Target shut down all of their fast chargers in Vallejo,
Yeah, the level 2 ones.
Juice.
the level 2s.
Yeah, the level 2 charge point.
And somebody else said that the level 2s in Davis are not working at the moment. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, they've been gone. They've been down for months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are, you know, things that were required by the city of Davis for development agreements in the past. And so one of the, you know, the questions that we've had with the city is whether they're going to, if there's any role for the city in enforcement. Because maybe it's possible that we just take back control.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think those are some of the questions that that we have moving forward about who's going to be responsible for making sure that these things are maintained. And you know, it's pretty clear that a lot of the companies didn't really plan on the long-term maintenance as a part of their strategies.
Yep.
Target is
Tim,
a
I
hard
see
case.
Tim's hand up.
Yeah. I drove to LA and back, and I used Electrify America because it was free. But at one point I used a charge point. It was like 68 cents a kilowatt. So kind of expensive. But I saw, I don't remember what city it was in. There was like 40 Tesla stations, all empty. And I was thinking, well, how can I just use one of those? Is there like an adapter, or can you join their network and use theirs? How much is it? Any of those kinds of questions?
So they have, they're starting to migrate some of their superchargers over to be able to be compatible with the CCS standard, which you have. They've actually moved already the ones in, not Forest Ranch,
Placerville.
Yeah, they've done. I've talked to people that have charged at Placerville. Seems to be working, but it'll be a slow migration of those over the next, next couple of years. But the interesting thing is, you expect. I'm a believer in free markets, right? If there's like 10 vendors of these things, you expect some of them would get it right. In addition to Tesla. So whatever the challenge is, it seems to be pretty pervasive across all of them, because none of them other than Tesla have been very successful. So I hope that as Tesla gets their adapter, you don't have to buy the adapter. The adapter is built into the charging station. It's called Magic Dock is what they call it. It'll pop out and you just plug into that other one. Anyway, I hope that whatever Tesla's doing, their engineering of it is somehow solved the problem that everybody else has had. But we'll have to see.
Somebody had told me, and I don't know the accuracy of it, but you can buy an adapter to fit my car that plugs
Yeah.
into Teslas.
I know what you're referring to. That would work for level 2 Tesla level 2 chargers that you will find often at hotels and that kind, but the superchargers, no. That adapter does not work for the superchargers, only for the what they call destination chargers. It would be at an event, I mean at attractions or hotels, that kind of thing.
So I think we're a little after 7, and I think maybe we'll turn to Eugen to talk to us a little bit about his experience with a new truck, and then we'll come back. I think since we have a pretty small group tonight, we will skip my reprise of the charging around Davis unless some of you really want to hear it again, and then just go back to any other questions or topics that people want to discuss after we hear from Eugen.
I would like a quick question. Do you have a date for the first pop-up?
Which first pop-up? We've been doing pop-ups since January, since last fall. We've been doing pop-ups every month. So, and Nathan just did one last month with his car. This month, that's the same day, that's picnic day, so we are not having a pop-up. Next month is e-bikes, so we will be trying to get our both our motorcycle folks and our e-bike folks out for that. So the next big car pop-up will be June.
If you'd like us to promote them or to solicit people that might be interested in showing their car at the pop-up, let me know. I'm sorry, I've missed them in the past couple months, I guess.
And well, we haven't been promoting them because we haven't had a kind of like a steady stream of actual committed cars. But now we did that survey a couple of, in February, and now we have a list of owners who are interested in showing their cars. And so Nathan's going to be starting to follow up with them and getting them scheduled for the upcoming months. So any cars that we're missing, we would love to continue to promote people answering the survey, which included, interest in participating, say, in our events later in the year and the National Drive Electric Week event as well. So
about half of the people that signed up for National Drive Electric Week were not even from SAC EV, so we're going to encourage them to also register with SAC EV, and we always ask them whenever anybody registers for SAC EV, do you also want to register for Davis at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
And we ought to try to make sure that we're sharing as much of these, especially these newer, more rare EVs. We ought to share those back and forth.
Right. And so as soon as we get people, so Barbara and Robert are, doing the data input. Robert's doing the data input. And so I think he shares all of those people with you when he gets that information when we do the data input. So I think we're mostly up to date. I think there's one batch in March, the March's event that's not in the database yet. So Eugen, you're on.
Good. Do you have the slideshow?
I do. I will get that up right now. Well, first of all, I got to find it. Hang on just a second.
Well, my first EV I drove about 30 years ago. And so after 30 years, I was finally able to drive a semi truck that is fully electric. So that was an experience. Compared to the EVs that I used to drive, the trucks I used to drive, driving a Nikola EV semi is no challenge. The only challenge is you have to raise your hand to open the door, so I climb all the way up there, and it's a little different looking down. Very much different because the trucks I have been driving used to have all long hoods. And now the Nikola is straight down like a European truck. So just go to the first slide, next one. So this event took place at the California Trucking Association together with Green Cities. Nikolai brought a truck up from Los Angeles that was a pure battery. And I'm not showing the fuel cell trucks because I refuse to talk about them. Now that Chevron is pushing more fuel cell cars on TV ads, so.
Fuel cell.
Yes, exactly, fuel cells, yeah. So this is the truck, next slide. I just have about 14 pictures, it's not much. Close up, unfortunately with all the rain, they could not lift up the front. We couldn't look under the hood. We couldn't look at the batteries. Katrina was out there too. And most people wanted to drive the fuel cell truck. I was happy to drive this one here. Okay, next. And you can see, you know, with rain and everything, nobody expects it. So there was not much going on part of the time. Next. Next.
Is this you driving it?
No.
Okay, just checking.
And now this one could be a video, just a 15-second video. Can you correct?
Just click it.
Yeah.
No, it's I think I had to enable. I didn't know you had a video in here. Let me stop.
Doing videos in there, yeah.
Let me stop sharing and let me enable the video.
Okay. I'm going to have some stats on it. The battery is giant. I think 733 kilowatt hour battery pack.
Wow.
So, you know, it is just a monster of a car.
That's going to leave a mark.
Well, charging, I mean, imagine how much charge they have to pull to get that battery full in a decent time.
Do you know if they're going to use the charging standard for heavy duty trucks?
Yes.
What's the name of it?
Yeah. That's that CS1 mag, or I can't remember the name.
So, you know, I PDF'd this. So let me bring up I didn't realize, like, so I'm guessing that it's not embedded in the PDF.
Yeah, it is embedded, the one I did.
In the PDF?
Yeah, because I tested it.
Okay.
Well, that's fine. We can just go on. So this is how the cab looks. Nothing about shifting or anything. If you look at the steering wheel, there's drive, neutral, and reverse. Anybody can drive that car. The big difference is the steering wheel is giant and it's more flat than in a regular car. And I mean, otherwise, it just looks like an EV. And look at that screen and look at the steering wheel. You just have to get used to the size and then you can drive this truck. Nothing compared to what I used to have to do, shift and do neutral and then shift back in with the gears. I mean, it was just, it's just like a toy. Next. Well, this is another picture looking down on it. I mean, look at the screen. I've never seen a truck with a screen like this. You know, punch in your directions. It takes you almost there by itself. Next. Okay, this was the video of me driving of it, but that's fine. It was just a short video. Next. So here are a couple stats. A max range is 330 miles. The charge time is 90 minutes. Horsepower is more than enough.
Wow.
Next.
When you said the charge time is 90 minutes?
Yes, if it's totally empty.
Oh, wow. I thought it was going to be like hours for that large battery.
No, but I mean, you're charging, if you look on this slide all the way on the bottom, 90 minutes at 350 kilowatt
Wow.
charger.
Wow.
So, first fast chargers out here were 50 kilowatts.
Hmm.
So they have giant, chargers. And just yesterday, Tesla and Elk Grove had an event of their trucks, and they had a ribbon cutting. So the connector type you see here, the kilowatt hour battery pack. And next. So this is an interesting thing. For these companies, they're going to have this pad with 2 chargers, and you're going to be able to move that. You can see the 2 holes. You can lift it with a forklift and move it wherever you need it to put it. I mean, you need an electrical connection out there, but it is similar to what Tesla does now with their fast chargers. They have 4 on a cement pad, and they're already installed, and they just move them out there. So this is, I think, a way to go. Everything's set up. It's easy for the companies, but these are these 350 kilowatt fast chargers.
I'm surprised it's only a 125 kilowatts.
Well, if you, so basically, it's one 350 line coming out. That's how they explained it to me, and it's shared. If you pull one, if only one charger pulls it, it's going to be higher. But I've never seen it. This is just, I put something together for this event here.
You have to have a big extension cord.
Yes. Yeah, you have to get the power out there. But I mean, it adds flexibility a lot. I mean, if we could put in fast chargers like this for our regular cars that way, it would make it much easier. Next. This is a little setup from the side. They take the wheel off. The electrical motor is the same on the fuel cell and on the electric BEV bus. Next. Just a little setup for their motor settings and everything. So up on the left side is the battery boxes. Next, and I think that's it. Oh no, the incentives are outrageous. I mean, you get 150,000 per truck, possibly.
Wow.
So I mean, for these companies, it is, if they have somebody that is good with money and knows how, to get these incentives, these trucks would be way cheaper than a regular truck.
Is that 10%?
No, it's much more. I think the trucks are in somewhere 250, 300,000 range, if I remember correctly.
No, I meant how much are one of those trucks? Are they $1 million?
No. I think 250 or up to 250 to 350, I think. But I have to check that.
Katrina, now's your chance.
I was just gonna say that program that gives money off is a program that the company I work for actually maintains and distributes the funding for the state. So
darn, you're now.
It's very exciting. So it's kind of fun to see it. And that's the medium and heavy duty program, incentive program for the vehicles. But there's also another for the infrastructure as well. So the state, recognizes that, cool, you have this truck, but how are you going to refuel it? And so there's another program called Energize that we manage for the state as well, for heavy duty vehicle refueling. I will just keep it generic like that. So it's very exciting to see it and try to, think about this program. It's been going on for a couple of years now, and how to see what vehicles have been added to the approved vendor list, and, what organizations and, truck vocations are trying to get this funding. And it's just very fun to kind of see the progress moving along.
So I looked up how much it says the truck costs approximately $270,000. Maintenance costs will be about $6,000 to $9,000 per year.
So if folks, I brought up the other file, if folks want to see the driving portion of the presentation, I can do that. Yes?
Bring it.
Wait a minute. Stop share.
What happened?
Good question. There it
there we are.
is.
It's trying.
We don't get a recording of a truck.
Unfortunately, no, I'm sorry, no big noise, no.
Well, it looks real though.
It doesn't shake your brain as a truck should shake the brains of old people to keep them alert.
Or damage your kidneys,
Yeah, everything's missing.
Okay, so we'll do the next one was you driving, right?
Yeah, but it's only like 50 seconds, so.
Well, still fun.
Let's go straight.
Okay, you know the area.
Yeah, do you want to get on the freeway or not?
No.
Then go up here and do a U-turn then.
I know that.
U-turn it right up here after you run those cars off the road and smile while you do it.
Morgan, you could have just driven home with it.
Yeah.
He's gonna blow your mind, sir.
And then park it at Mere Commons.
Give you both.
Take
Spin the wheel like you mean it. Isn't that cool?
That is very good.
That is cool, huh?
That is a narrow.
Yeah.
Turn right.
Did the back wheels turn a little bit?
Nope.
What? Just with the front wheels.
Front tires. The back axle, the rear probably skidded sideways a little bit, but didn't skid too bad now that the ground's wet.
Where were we again?
We'll go to the end, come in.
Okay, so if I can drive it, you can drive it.
They wouldn't let me. I really wanted to. They wouldn't let me drive it.
They wouldn't let you drive it?
Well, I don't have a class.
Oh, it doesn't have the class.
I don't have a license. I want it. I don't know how to do it, but I figured I want to drive the buses.
Oh yeah.
Like
So
I
what
work
class?
with the buses.
What
Like,
class
it was
license
good.
did you need?
Yeah, you need like special things.
Okay.
So if anybody knows how to do it,
I got a motorcycle license with that, and I don't think
they wouldn't.
Oh, good.
Well, thanks, Logan. Thanks for sharing that. And I think I just can imagine the people who do this for a living, just if we could get them in those seats for that experience would be a remarkable thing.
Yeah. I had a question for Eugen, though. He looks like he's turned off for a while, but maybe Rich as well, is fuel cells for trucks. Just seems like it's made for that. You don't like fuel cells for trucks?
Well, I told them I'm going to give them 2 years, and if they can't make it in 2 years, Tesla will take them off the market like they took the fuel cell cars off, the market and the regular size cars.
Okay. Yeah, because it looks like fuel cells, if you can get the green fuel, would be, perfect, because you set up fueling stations from point to point, something like that.
Yeah, but there's really no green fuel. I mean, the power you would need to get the green fuel and the renewables. So there is this gray or blue fuel where it's sort of somewhere in between, but I think it's still, they have 2 years. They have 2 years to set up some stations along freeways. If they can make it by then, they might make it, but otherwise they're out of luck, and they should be.
Okay.
So we're at 7:24.
I just add that when we were talking about the charging stations, I put the link to the Department of Transportation rule. And actually that rule is final And as Guy said too, it's for people who are companies that are taking federal funds for setting up charging sites. So it might not affect the people who are the businesses that have already set networks up, but
Right,
I would
this is for
ass-
the newer funding.
it's for the newer funding. Yeah, the 2.5 billion for, it looks like the Build America, Buy America infrastructure. Yeah.
Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is where it comes out of, I think. And Tesla's getting some of the funding for that to convert some of their stations or to adopt some of their stations to be for all cars.
Okay.
And there will be upgrades to all stations, so that will put them under the new regulation too.
I noticed that we have Dave and Julie that joined us late, but I don't know whether they want to turn on their video and and unmute and say hi, but also if they had any questions that they brought with them to the meeting tonight that they would like to share, or any hot topics or issues that they're encountering. Hey, Julie, we're not hearing you, so I'm not sure why. There we go.
Walked away. Oh, they are.
Nope, it's still not hearing you.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. You're unmute. No,
Now you're muted.
you're
No,
Hey.
you're on.
You saying something, Julie?
Trying to make it work. Oh,
You hear us?
oh,
Oh, you can or you cannot.
she can hear us, but we can't hear her. So you might just need to turn up your microphone, maybe. I don't know.
yeah. So Tim, if you're watching this, Julie and her husband Dave were the ones that took their Tesla Model Y back and forth across the country last year.
So they're on video with their story. Plus, I think we may have posted their documents too, because Julie's husband is a energy expert and a data nerd. And so great spreadsheets for greenhouse gas reduction and fuel prices and everything that they experience going across country, which is great.
And
What is the typical fuel price for these charging stations?
Oh, you're there. I think we heard you.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry I was late. I had a flat tire on my e-bike.
Oh, wow.
It's a heavy bike to push.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
No, you had a question.
Tim
Well,
had a question.
Going cross country, I get free from Electrify America, but they're not often as enough. So I'll have to join these other, like ChargePoint. I had to join that, but they were like 68 cents a kilowatt. So I'm wondering what some of the others are and what's the normal or what's a good price for these other charging stations. Does anyone know?
Well, I'd say Julie was using, she's driving a Tesla, so she used the Tesla superchargers the whole way.
Right.
Well, but they didn't. There were places where they didn't even they didn't have access to Teslas, and so they were using other things too. So
Oh,
I don't think that's true. We did Tesla the whole way across.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't have it memorized what the pricing was, but in our article that we wrote, my husband geeked out and did all kinds of geeky things that you guys would probably love. It's easy to find. All you have to do is like search once you're on the Cool Davis site for like I think it was Tesla to it's called the Across America, the 21st century super highway, something like that. But just Tesla to Maine, and that's how it comes up. That's how I find it. I think there's getting to be a lot more crowds at the Tesla charging stations, we've noticed. we drove up to Oregon last weekend, and I'd say they were like 80% full, most of them, 50 to 80%, whereas before we were like one of the only ones.
Well, just last month, I was driving, I think it was Bravo Farms on I-5. There was at least 40 Tesla charging stations and nobody was at them.
Huh.
And I was thinking, gosh, I wish I could
Tap it.
charge. But
Yeah.
I didn't have
Well,
a Tesla.
It also depends, if you drive on the weekend, they're pretty full.
Yeah.
The charging station, if you drive during the week, you're fine. The other thing I would recommend with EVgo, if you're a AAA member, you get their subscription price automatically. You just have to sign up under AAA.
That's cool.
So you would save a little bit. It's not much, but you save a little bit.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, I forget what EVgo was, but you're right. EVgo, at least I haven't used it in a while. I had 2 subscriptions. One, if you're using it all the time, which was a lower price. And then I think if you just used it every now and then, you didn't have to pay an ongoing, monthly fee. And it was a little higher price. But Nathan, you, I think, put up, 30 to 55 cents, something like that for.
Yeah, I think that's probably the average of what you'll see. It varies from city to city, state to state. But I think, yeah, Electrify America, their monthly is like 36 if you have membership, and a little bit higher, but I think around that range.
Yeah, Blink charge is like 45 cents or 49 cents. So
Okay. Actually, that's not too bad of a price, considering you're using a fast charger, and it's not something you're doing every day.
And the cost to put in these charging stations, I don't think people really understand how truly expensive they are. And so they need to charge a high amount to make any sort of profit, but most aren't.
Right.
Good point. Okay.
Thank you.
So Dave, did you have any questions or things you wanted to share before we close out this evening?
No, I'm relatively new to the group. I have a 2018 Honda Clarity, so it's a plug-in hybrid, and eventually want to switch over to a full electric. I'm really keen on the ID Buzz Volkswagens, if that ever gets here. But I found it really interesting what you were saying about the unreliability of the charging stations other than Tesla. And definitely something, I guess, that really needs to be looked at.
Yeah, what gets me though is that in Europe, there's not a problem with chargers overall. And like with VW, they own, this is getting into the weeds of it, but there's a charging company called Iondi in Europe, which is basically VW. And VW is basically Electrify America. So they know how to do fast public charging, but I don't know whether it's just like the rules in Europe and the guidelines. It's frustrating to see that huge difference.
I'm totally flummoxed, but I can't understand. It's not exactly the same, but it's a very similar standard in Europe versus the US. But US is terrible and Europe seems to be in good shape. I don't understand.
I think maybe expectations.
I put the link for the AAA in the chat. And then, I don't drive a Tesla, but I took my brothers up to Canada and we had all sorts of problems with Tesla charging stations. So it's not that, they constantly all work. That's not quite true either.
It would certainly be the exception though.
thanks for sharing that, Eugen.
Yeah.
Great. And Katrina, you just put something in the chat too?
Yeah, there's a light duty level 2 incentive program that just opened up that has not been that is really focusing on like MUDs and workplaces and like schools and sort of like congregations and stuff. So if you know anybody who wants to apply to get these funds from the state, you know, please do. There's about $30 million this year, and there's plans, I guess I've heard through the grapevine, there's plans to refill the funding as years go on. So and it helps with you know, site development and project build out, and you know, helping with the permitting applications and kind of all those like hard things that nobody really knows how to do, that's been seen as a barrier. So just wanted to let you all know that this exists. It doesn't apply to single family homes, but just, you know, if you're thinking about it, if you're like, wow, I wish something would have charging, like, well, maybe it can.
All right.
Well, I think in Davis, we should, for the apartment complexes, get something going. Because there are a lot of Teslas parked there and other EVs now. And they're trying to get onto our parking lot. You know, we have two close by, and
Yeah, there are a number of property management folks who are very interested in getting this kind of advice, Katrina. And so is it set up to provide, is there like a technical assistance kind of framework? So they apply and then they're going to get that technical assistance along the way, because our property management association here in town is ready for a conversation, which we could set up to come to one of their meetings and give them a presentation and then use that as a launch for
yeah, definitely. I mean, so there's definitely it was really designed to help people who, you know, may not have the time or the bandwidth or the knowledge or the background or whatever to get funding like this. It's also kind of targeted towards lower income areas, which Davis doesn't apply for. Sorry, not sorry. But that doesn't mean that there's still not, you know, something that MUD properties could take advantage of in the city of Davis. But yeah, it's definitely set up to help. It's not my project, so I don't like work on it directly. But yeah, they're definitely open to doing, you know, outreach and just trying to make sure that these funds get spent, and that, you know, it's actually impacting and helping communities get more charging in places that, you know, have stereotypically not been able to do it on their own.
One of the things that's interesting in
retrofits
Davis.
only.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think it is retrofits only, isn't it, Katrina? It's not for new construction.
Correct. I believe it's just for retrofits, although that's a good question.
And you know, one interesting thing about Davis is a lot of our low income subsidized housing facilities actually have EV chargers, because first of all, the city, if they're new, it's because the city was requiring them early. But in the past also, you know, Davis Mutual Housing, which is the Mutual Housing of California, they've been doing EV chargers now for about 4 or 5 years in all of their new facilities, and then adding them to their existing facilities. So a lot of our subsidized housing in the community has EV charging, which is really very interesting compared to our other groups.
Right. And I think that that's kind of an interesting part, is to, you know, because I mean, Davis has a lot of just like density of electric vehicles just by the nature of being, you know, hooked up to the university, and just like, you know, that's just the background of the folks that live there. And so being able to kind of leverage existing state funds. So this is just like the fact sheet that I have, but you know, it's talking about, you know, providing site development with some documentation, and then, you know, helping with the permitting and site analysis. But then also just, you know, making sure that if they're ready to go, then, you know, if all you need are, you know, funding or an EVSP, you know, helping picking out a charging company, you know, it's really geared towards helping people and try to answer some of those not only basic questions about, you know, what's level 2 charging, but also getting into the nitty gritty and being like, well, I have like right of way issues. What do I do with that? Is kind of how it's been explained to me. But again, this is not my project, but that's just kind of what, kind of what it's geared towards from what like I understand. So
Okay.
definitely recommend. So this is kind of the areas they're targeting is MUDs, tribal communities, congregations, schools, all of these things. So definitely take advantage of it. The funds are there. They definitely, if the application period is open, it closes eventually. It's not listed on here, so I don't know. But yeah, so it's open right now, but then when it does close, then it opens again, as far as I understand. So the funds are kind of on a rotating basis.
Okay.
So that's
Great.
what I can tell you guys.
Thanks,
Chris is the housing association you were referring to. Are they interested in hearing about the new requirements for new construction?
Now, these are property managers. These are people that are dealing with residents who are showing up and saying, I have an electric vehicle, where can I plug it in? Who are dropping extension cords out of their windows of their apartments in order to plug in their cars. So they're very interested in serving their customers and finding out easier ways to do that, but also not being taken for a ride. They're very wary of the vendors that are just sort of showing up willy-nilly and saying, hey, we'll put in a charger for you, and wanting to make sure that they're getting the right thing and that they know how they're going to manage it and maintain it in the future. So
we had talked at one point about trying to meet up with those that are designing new multi-unit housing facilities and giving them an update on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very dynamic. We're just in the middle of a 45-day comment period for new requirements regarding EV infrastructure for multifamily houses, which, by the way, has been one of the most inequitable things about the California building code. Rich people have charging. If you have to live in an apartment, you're out of luck. So we're working on that, though, to get very aggressively.
Okay, so it's 7:42, and I don't want to keep people longer than we said we were going to be today.
I have something.
Sure. Go ahead, Barbara.
I would like to make a request of Tim, and that is that he would extend an invitation to join DEVA to his cat. And what made me think of it is I recently saw a video of a cat riding a Roomba around a house, and it had not occurred to me before that cats should have access to electric vehicles. But obviously Tim's cat could inspire a whole new bunch of DEVA members.
Yeah, I don't want to give my cat any more control than it already has. It owns the house. I want to keep the car as my own solitude place.
Well, but you could use a Roomba.
Oh, come on, Dad. Just a little Roomba.
Yeah, the puppy wants to be in charge too.
So I think it's time for us to say goodbye. And we'll see everybody in June. We are looking at finding a location and doing an in-person meeting where maybe we're doing a little bit of Zooming, but not quite so much. And we can accommodate some people to come both in person and also in a hybrid meeting mode. So we look forward to that. And Tim,
I really encourage people again to sign up for SAC EV so we get these information about all these events coming out this month.
absolutely. And Tim, I'll send you information about the parade right after we get off. So you'll have all of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good to see everyone. Good night.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Chris, for doing great facilitation.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And you have my email, Chris?
You know what? Put it in the chat just in case I can't find it. Thank you
good?
all. Yes, we're good.
Ciao.